Coming up on this edition of Carolina Insider, how students are using FAFSA to take advantage of student loans, the debate over a controversial historic statue, and Nikki Haley makes an impact.
59% of Americans say Donald Trump is too old and Joe Biden is too old.
But Trump still takes the lead. Carolina Insider starts now.
Donnie 2024, let's go.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Emma Connelly. Our top story today: if you're planning to vote early in South Carolina's Republican primary, you've got just one more day to get it done. Early voting closes tomorrow. Last weekend, former Governor Nikki Haley visited both Sumter and Irmo to gather support. According to a recent poll by Emerson College, Haley is currently trailing former President Trump by about 23 percentage points. And the size of their crowds show it. At his stop in Charleston last weekend, Mr. Trump packed in plenty of supporters. If it comes down to Trump versus Biden, some students we talked to say their support has shifted away from the current president.
I really hadn't heard of much he's really doing, and he's also his age factoring in, you know.
I've kind of grown a little more distant from him.
Well, he's lousy. He doesn't know how to do anything.
If you're interested in hearing from Mr. Trump before the election, he'll be just an hour up the road at Winthrop University on Friday. You can reserve tickets on his campaign website. Last year, the Biden administration made changes to the way college students pay off their loans, or if they have to pay them off at all. But the new FAFSA forms are causing confusion on college campuses across America, including here in Columbia. Carolina Insider's Macaila Bogle has more with what's in the news.
Thanks, Emma. USC students and their families may have to wait longer to hear about their financial aid packages. The release of FAFSA information will not come out until next month. That's 4 to 6 weeks after the expected rollout date. It tells schools and students the amount of loans and aids they will be rewarded. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, more than 85% of students rely on these forms of financial aid. I called the USC Bursar's Office and Office of Financial Aid on Monday, the way any incoming student might, to ask what the process was for helping students who are affected by this delay. Neither of the representatives could answer our questions. Back to you, Emma.
Thanks, Macaila. A different kind of controversy is getting backlash both on campus and at the State House. Spencer Ball has the story.
Through the trees and trails surrounding the South Carolina State House, a monument honoring a controversial figure hides in the shadows. Born in 1813, Dr. J. Marion Sims is a South Carolina native that earned the nickname the Father of Gynecology for his work in the field of women's reproductive health. However, Sims's reputation has been under fire in recent years with his unethical practices coming to light.
There's a big difference between remembering something and celebrating it, and I think with someone who has such an unethical legacy behind his practices, it's not necessarily something that we should be celebrating.
Sims frequently experimented on unconsenting slaves without using anesthesia, but when operating on white women at his practice, he would use anesthesia. Sims not only has a monument on the South Carolina State House grounds, but a dormant women's quad on the USC campus named after him.
So I think putting the name of that building in Women's Quad specifically was definitely purposeful, and I don't think it's something that should stay either.
I'm here at the J. Marion Sims Monument, something that many South Carolinians have called for the removal of, but the Heritage Act in the state makes that much harder to do.
The Heritage Act was signed into law in 2000 and said that no monuments or memorials built on the public property of the state could be removed without a 2/3 supermajority vote. Just 2 years ago, the South Carolina Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional and now only requires a simple majority vote for monuments to be removed. The Sims Monument is not the only controversial figure on the grounds of the State House. There are multiple monuments still dedicated to segregationists and Confederates. Despite the ambiguous pasts of the people remembered on the monuments, the Heritage Act is currently restricting people from important discussions.
These aren't easy issues. They're not simple solutions. But we need to have these conversations, and I think a lot of what the Heritage Act does is sort of prevent some of those conversations from happening.
For Carolina Insider, I'm Spencer Ball.
a joint resolution that would have allowed for the removal of the Sims monument died in committee last year. Lawmakers have not reintroduced it for the current legislative session. Finally today, a familiar sound for Columbia residents is soon changing. The state newspaper reports that 14 quiet zones will be built where neighborhoods and railroad crossings intersect. Trains will be able to pass through without blowing their horns. There is no official start date for construction at this time. That's it for this edition of Carolina Insider, a student production here in the Kennedy Greenhouse Studio in the School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow.